So far we have just said abstractly if there is a functor and if there is a functor with such and such property, we look at a concrete functor. But here we are not actually doing any work. We are simply wrapping existing work, moving work from one place to the other. But this is meant to illustrate what we can do. Okay, so here is pi 0 of x. So pi 0 of x is the set of path connected components of a topological space. Okay, so the functor pi 0 which will map, so we can think of it as pi 0 which will map topological space to set, and of course functions between topological spaces are mapped to continuous functions between topological spaces are mapped to functions between sets. This is an elementary exercise in set topology, and with this we will try to show how an extension problem can be solved. That is to say, solved negatively. Namely, we'll look at the extension problem where we have the sphere up there, where we have 0 circle S0. It's mapped by the identity to the 0 circle. Remember, these are the points minus 1 and 1. Okay. This is contained in the one disk, which is an interval, but for consistency, we'll call it minus 1, 1. And then we want to look at a function f here. So does such a function exist? Should remind you of the intermediate value theorem, and the real work done will be actually using something like the intermediate value theorem. However, what we'll show now is how to we map it to another functor. Okay, so let's apply pi 0. So to apply pi 0, let's note what are pi 0. So pi 0 of a disk is a single point. So let's call it star. Here equals means equal as sets, so we make whatever identification. How about pi 0 of S1? S1 has two path components, so it has two components. Let's call them a smile and a frown. Okay, and then so what happens is if we apply pi 0, what we get here is we have got a smile and a frown mapped to themselves, and this is the identity map. Okay, so smile remains smiling and the frown remains frowning, no change has been made. This guy goes to the star. Oh, that's not a smile, just a star. And we know what this map is. Both of them go to stars, and we want f. Okay, so now there are two cases. So they are treated in the same way. So suppose f of star, well, it has to be either a smile or a frown. So since there's only one choice, it's better we keep smiling. And so suppose f of star is smile, then let's give these guys a name, and this is I, and this is of course the identity. Then I composed with f of a frown is going to be a smile. Now, making a frown into a smile is a good thing, but it doesn't make this diagram commute. It's not the identity of a frown which keeps things frowning as they are. Okay, so we see that this diagram commutes. So by checking, there is another case, of course, which I don't like because it makes a smile into a frown. But you can check that case as well and see the diagram doesn't commute. So one can check, so no solution. So this has no solution, and hence the original problem has no solution. So this is an example of how we use the functor. Of course, the work in calculating that pi 0 of S1 is 2 is the same as the work in showing that this problem doesn't have a solution. So as I said, this just wraps things up, but purpose of this is to have a concrete example, not a general philosophical abstract example, that you can apply functors to show negative solutions to problems. Okay, so with this we will just look at a couple of more things before turning to the core of this course, which is things like fundamental groups, which is we'll look at a couple of relations between extension problems and lifting problems. So the first way we'll connect them is to combine them. Okay, so what about extension of lifting problem? I should maybe call it relative lifting problem, but I liked the sound of this. So here we have a space A contained in a space X. Notice I'm not writing inclusions because it doesn't matter at a categorical level whether we have an inclusion or not. In fact, you saw in your quiz some case where you didn't have an inclusion but something looked like an extension problem. Okay, so we have A maps to X, and so this is an inclusion map, and we have a space Y, let's say, and we have a function from X to Y which we want to lift, and we have Z. And we already, so this is our projection map. This you can pretend is an inclusion, but it doesn't matter. We have F here, and suppose we already have a lift on A. Okay, and our goal is to extend this to a lift on F. So the problem for capital F is going to be a problem of extending a lift problem. Okay, there are many examples of this, but the key thing is that this includes both the lifting problem and the extension problem. Okay, so namely, so this includes lifting is obvious. Okay, so in the case of lifting, what we did was that we had a X and Y, and notation has changed slightly. We had Z, a P, we wanted capital F. And we want to write this as a relative thing. It's relative to a subset on which the lift is already defined. Let's just take the empty subset. So let's take the empty map here, and then there is a unique map from here to here. Okay, and it also includes, slightly less obviously, the extension problem. So an extension problem can be viewed as an extension of a lift, or lifting of a extension of a lift problem. Well, how is that? Geometry will be a little bit different, but our extension problem is A to X, and I'm going to call the space to which I want to extend it Z, not Y, and I'm going to put it up there because I want the arrow to go this way. But other than shifting the triangle, this is the same problem. So we have a function already defined on X. This is an inclusion, this is our restricted function, and we want a capital F. Okay. Well, how do I make this into a lifting problem? The trick here is that to take a final star, and X will map to star. So if I take a singleton set, there is a unique map from any space to that. Send everything to that singleton set. And there's a unique map from anything to that. And all diagrams involving that will commute. So I can take the original extension problem and simply add star, and it doesn't change anything. Okay, so the first thing we see is that we can include extension and lifting problems as a single problem. Of course, there are other problems which are more complicated because they involve more than one unknown function, like we had for the homeomorphism problem. But these two will play an important role. In involving one function, you can just put it as a slightly larger commutative diagram. The comment here is, in this case, we use the empty set. That's what's called the initial value in the category of topological spaces, because there's a unique function from the empty set to any space, and a singleton set is a final object. There's a unique function to that. So that is how we could complete it. Okay, so this is one relation between that. We will see another relation which is maybe a little more amusing, and this goes by the name of duality. So let's see what we will do here. Let's look at a space A and a space X. I'll start with any one of these problems. So let's start, say, with the extension problem, and we have Y or Z in that case, and we want to map from here. We want to map from here to here, and then we want to map. We already given this map. So this is the inclusion. This is F. I shouldn't call it F. My F is usually unknown. Phi, and this is F. Okay, and let's change color a little bit and reverse the arrows. So let's make this arrow dashed again because it's unknown in the other direction. By the way, there is no way, I don't mean to say there is a function in this direction. This arrow has to be reversed, so it goes up, and this arrow has to be reversed, so it goes up. Okay, so now if you see, but this is a solid arrow. Okay, and so is this. So only one of them is a dashed arrow. Okay, so now if you see, I can rewrite it by putting here the space A. Okay, and the space A now has two arrows coming into it. Okay, one of them is from Y, and one of them is from X. Okay, these are the purple arrows which are here, and the unknown arrow goes from y to x. So perhaps I should have, is that the correct direction? So let's exchange x and y here. Okay, so let me just get rid of the little thing here and make this into an x. So far everything was fine, and now you have an unknown arrow which goes from purple arrow which goes from y to x. You see, this is a lifting problem. So it's as if we had a function p here and we had a function whatever else it is given here, a phi or something, and we wanted a function f here. So the curious thing is that if you switch all arrows, you go from the lifting problem to the extension problem. Well, what we did was we switched all arrows and went from extension problem to lifting problem. You reverse this and you get this again. Okay, so this is a relation which we call duality. It should remind you of duality in linear algebra. Essentially, when you take linear transformations and you look at the dual space, the orders of compositions get reversed. Okay, and even though in this course what we'll be basically seeing are functors, this duality becomes relevant when you look at what are called cofunctors. So cofunctors are just like functors, except that if I have a cofunctor, let's say, let me call it again f, and it goes from one category C to a category D, then it will still take objects to objects, but instead of getting morphisms, compositions, instead of taking this to f of f composed with f of g, it takes it to f of g composed with f of f. Okay, so the morphisms actually switch directions, and before that I should say that if f maps x to y, that is f is a morphism from x to y, then capital F of f maps f of y to f of x. So this is like the adjoint of a linear transformation, and indeed a functor you get, which is a cofunctor rather, is the dual function from a vector space to its adjoint.